Hey my loves, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Destini. So I'm just gonna jump right into it because I literally recorded everything I wanted to say for the last 20 minutes and then realized that my camera wasn't on while I was recording it. So that's that. And there's just like no easy approach to it. So I got a question last week about how I plan on raising my biracial children during a time like protests and rioting and the Black Lives Matters movement. How was I gonna explain to them what's currently going on, what has happened, and what to expect in the future? This question was just so powerful for me that I really wanted to sit down with my fiance and just like talk and see where we both like stand on the current issues and how we both plan on raising our children during times where, you know, we're still protesting and we're still doing all these things that I was taught we were legally freed from. We had legal rights to be humans, and you know, people aren't being treated that way. So I first wanted to educate myself a little bit more. So to give you guys a backstory, I am Black and Puerto Rican. I was raised in a small town in Florida, Southwest Florida, and I then moved to New Jersey my sophomore year of high school. So growing up in Florida was a little different. Where I was from was very small, like up and coming type town. And there was a little island not too far from my house that really was a hub of a lot of kids. And I'm saying, like, I left Florida when I was 15. So kids who were raised and taught to hate people like me. A lot of people didn't even realize I was Black, so like that in itself was just like another, not issue, but just like another fact. So I used to go to school with people that had shaved heads, but with the swastika like right in here. Or I once had somebody message me on AIM, so that gives you an idea how long ago that was for people that know what that was. And they told me to go hang from a tree. And I, at the time, thought that they just wanted me to kill myself. But I then found that the wordage at the time that that message was sent was a racial slur. I, at that time, had several racial slurs made to me. And again, almost all of them I was unaware about. So when the question came up as to how do I plan on explaining to my children, the only thing I could think of is education. Educating my children on what actually happened in US history, Black history, their Spanish history. Like, the lack of education that's there is, in my opinion, like a lot of the issue. I did not mean to extend my syllables. I was like thinking as I was saying my opinion and like kind of forgot. Anyway, yeah, so I've experienced racism, and even as an adult, I was a hairstylist before I decided to stay home with both of my boys. And I actually had a client who was special needs, not feel comfortable in my chair and stand up and told me straight to my face that she didn't want the people like me, she said, I don't want people like you to touch my hair. And the other guests that were in the salon's mouths were just on the floor, and I walked away. And it wasn't because I didn't want to defend myself and I didn't have a voice. It was out of respect of her being special needs, because I know she wasn't born that way. I know she was taught to hate people like me. She was taught to not trust the color of my skin, the texture of my hair. She was taught to look at me as if I was beneath her. And for the record, I was a good hairstylist, so there was no reason why she was trying to tell me to do my job. But So when I was talking to my fiance, I told him my biggest thing is I don't want my kids to think that they can't trust people. I want them to be kind. I want them to be, you know, hopeful. I want them to be kind until proven otherwise. I don't want them to come off at a group of people, whether it's the color of their skin, their occupation, their religion. I can go on forever of all the possibilities that they might, you know, run into. Or like in my case, special needs, like all these different things. I don't want them to look at certain groups and assume that they are above them, that they have the right to be rude to them, that they aren't humans as well. But my fiance's perspective is a little different. He does not always trust the justice system. He does not always trust that people with authority have our best interests at heart. So he educated me on a lot of things that I didn't know about over the past weekend. I took the time and decided that I needed to know more about Black history because, like, I don't know if I said in this video or the video I thought I was recording, but I just did not receive the Black history information the way I think it needed to be taught. And I, again, I loved history. I was a history major in college. I wanted to be a teacher, and I just wasn't aware. So over the weekend, I watched a documentary that I will link in my description, along with a few other things that are coming up. And it just really opened my eyes, and it's the things that my dad and my mom and my grandparents and everyone has been telling me growing up, like, this is it, these are the reasons why. And I always wanted to look the other way and assume that they were wrong, that there are good in people. And up until recently, I was still kind of in that bandwagon. Not so much anymore. The reality is I'm very disappointed with the lack of action. I'm disappointed with the lack, and when I mean lack of action, I mean the lack of action by our justice system, because it has been an ongoing issue. I'm sad that I actually have to have this conversation now with a 5-year-old because he is so kind and so dear, and I want him to always stay that way. But I don't want him to be naive. I don't want him to have the lack of education when it comes to who he is as a person and what his history was and what his history was made up from. And I don't think that the people in the past should be disregarded. I don't think that they should be viewed as, well, that was the past, let's move on. I think that was the past, and we need to acknowledge that. And the only way I can acknowledge that is by educating my children on what happened. In my description, along with the Netflix documentary that I watched that I think is extremely informative during the Black Lives Matter movement, is also a list of books that I found on Amazon that also will help educate our children of any skin tone to love and learn and know kindness before building hatred, because it takes more energy to hate than it does to just put out effortless love. Love always comes first, and my children, especially with now pointing out my biracial children, will know that. My biracial children will know love, they will know kindness, and they will project it like from the top of their lungs, as far as I'm concerned, because I want them to be proud, and I want them to stand behind what they know is right. So, and a few books, and a description will link how, you know, all skin colors should love, just kind of seeing different leaders that were part of our history that I personally didn't know about. And again, I just want them both to be well educated on it. So, how do we better the future? I mean, standing behind a movement so strong, it deserves a voice. It deserves that opportunity to be heard and to build that change that it's looking for. And I want to be part of that the best way possible. So I took the time and waited, educated a little bit more in some of the subjects, but also want to make it aware that it is our jobs as parents to teach these things at home. These aren't things that we can expect teachers to deliver to our children, because sadly enough, a lot of it isn't in their textbooks. Sadly enough, a lot of it is rewritten in a way that makes it seem not so harsh, not so inhumane. So, yeah, my boys are gonna experience racism. They are going to experience being different. They might not be on the side that's being directly affected, just because when you look at the color of their skin, you might not realize that they're black. You might not even realize that they're Puerto Rican. But just because they have what may or may not be an advantage today doesn't mean that they deserve to not know what their future can hold. And it might not affect them, but it can affect the people next to them. It could affect their cousins, their other family members. I mean, you can't assume that just because it doesn't affect you directly, that it hasn't, that you haven't been exposed to it, that you haven't been part of it, that you haven't, or you don't feel like you need to talk more about it. It needs to be talked about, it needs to be heard. Yes, I'm a mother of biracial children. I am a biracial woman. I stand behind so many different things. To all the cops that are out there that are kind and do their jobs and do it well, you do not go unheard or unnoticed. It's noted. And I know that because I've had encounters with positive influences, cops that were positive in my life, positive in someone else's life, and I respect that. However, we aren't talking about what your occupation is right now. We are not talking about what you sign up for every day. We're talking about the people that went to a bodega and thought that they were coming home with milk and ended up never coming home because of an encounter with the police. We're talking about people that were walking or jogging in their neighborhood that didn't come home. We're talking about fathers, daughters, brothers, sisters, mothers. You could go on the list. These are people that did not sign up for that. So again, I say this, and this is the main key to how I plan on raising my biracial kids, is in a time of information that it's literally at your fingertips. Ignorance is by choice, and I refuse to raise any more ignorance in this country towards people that did not deserve the hardships that they had to go through, the obstacles that they had to go through. I hope that if you learned anything from my video today, is that kindness trumps all. And if you want to see a change, register to vote, and come November, stand with the people that are looking for the positive change as well. So you want to see it? Yes, this movement, Black Lives Matter, is strong, it's powerful. Let's go more, let's educate. Tell me something I didn't know. Bring to light issues that people didn't know. Vote. And vote because you have the right to do that. You have the privilege to do that. And vote because it matters. I hope that you enjoyed my video today. Leave your comments. If you have any questions for me, anything you want me to answer, any topics that you want to like kind of go into depth more about. My Instagram will be linked in my description as well, so you can either direct message me there or leave a comment under my video. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you didn't, bye. My channel doesn't need that. All right, until next time.